Today I've got the new Thrunite Catapult V6. This has got an interesting LED choice, the SST70 LED. And it's an LED that's more known for its flood than throw, but here it is in a thrower flashlight. Other updates include USB-C charging, it's slightly longer, and it has increased performance on turbo at about 2800 lumens. Thanks to Thrunite for sending this light to me to look at and review. I've got discount codes for this light available in the description below, but they're only good for about a week, so make sure you check that out. Thanks to Thrunite for sending this light to me. The old Catapult was one of my favorites, so let's see how the new one compares. Packaging here is similar to Thrunite products I've reviewed in the past. It comes in a sturdy cardboard box, not much to it, just the Thrunite name on it. You do have a picture of the V6 on the side and the cool or neutral white. This is the same box as the previous model used. You do get a couple of extras that come with the light. You get the manual here in English and the Chinese. You get a customer service card, kind of your happy not happy thing, and tells you how to get a free keychain light if you review them and send your order ID. You also get the 5000 milliamp hour battery, which is installed in the light. You get a USB-A to USB-C cable to charge the light, and you get a bag of extras including a lanyard, 2 extra O-rings, a split keyring, and two extra charging port covers. You also get a holster here, which I'll talk about in the retention section. The construction of the Catapult V6 is on par with other recent Thrunite lights I've looked at, such as the T2 and the TT20 as well. It's made of nicely machined aluminum and is anodized in a black semi-gloss coating. Tail caps on the Catapult VC6 and TC20 look the exact same. You've got a little bit of recess here with a spot for that lanyard or split ring to go. Both are non-magnetic and allow the light to tail stand pretty easily. There isn't any knurling on the tail cap here, but that's not a big thing, and it does kind of have an anti-roll feature, which helps it somewhat stay put. The body tube has a diamond milled pattern in it. It's less deeply milled than the original Catapult V6 here, and that's a shame because I love the texture on this original here. It's the same idea, just not as deep. The body tube is directional, but doesn't have any polarity markings on it for the battery, and the light does come into 3 pieces with the tail, body, and head. Threads are nice and no issues there. The head here is fairly large. It's got a fat aluminum bezel here, and the bezel can be unscrewed with considerable effort. It's slightly longer than what the original Catapult V6 had. The reflector inside is changed a little bit too. It is smooth. It's got anti-reflective coated glass on there, and you can see the SST70 LED there. It's nicely centered. The metal button here is the same. It's got a little hole in there for your charging status. It's an electronic switch and requires a medium amount of effort to push. It makes a little bit of noise. The USB charging port cover is the same as the previous V6 model with just a USB-C inside instead of a micro USB. When closed, it's flush and stays out of the way pretty well. I measured the length of the new Catapult at 137.3 millimeters in length, 33 millimeters on the body, and 58 millimeters on the head. Weight with the battery is 303.2 grams. In comparison to the old Catapult V6, the new light is 19.3 grams heavier and 6.3 millimeters longer. Diameters are the same. The new Catapult comes with the same holster as the previous model did, so if you're familiar with that, it's the same, but it's pretty basic. It fits right in here nicely and closes via Velcro. You do have a fixed belt loop on the back and a plastic D-ring, and it does say Thrunite here on the side. And here's what it looks like in my hand. Pretty nice size light personally for me. LED and beam. So I've got the new Catapult here on the left and the older V6 Catapult here on the right. The previous model of the Catapult used the Cree XHP 35 High LED, but Cree discontinued this LED in the first half of 2020 in favor of the Cree XHP 35.2 LED series. Instead of going with this LED, Thrunite has chosen to go with the SST70 LED. On paper, this is a little bit of an odd choice on a thrower style light. The SST70 is a domed LED, which usually is better for more floody applications, so let's see how it ends up working here. The SST70 is in cool white only at the moment, but to my eye it's not obnoxiously cool white. Officially, lumens are up from 1700 in turbo mode on the old light to 2836 on the new model. In practice, this is kind of hard to see. I notice it more in the spill with it being more intense than the older light. Candela or throw is down slightly from 140,650 to 120,000, and that's hard to see as well. The biggest difference here is the hotspot size between the two lights. The new Catapult hotspot is slightly larger when I compare the two, and we'll see that in my night shots. There is no PWM visible to the eye here, but my oscilloscope did detect a little bit on low mode only. All right, here are my night shots for the new Thrunite Catapult V6 with the SST70 LED. Here it is in the Firefly mode. It is 0.3 lumens, and you can actually see it on video because of that hot spot. Bumping up, here is low. This is 31 lumens, and it's a good show of the beam here. You can see it's got a relatively large hot center, but the spill on this model is quite a bit more, and it throws pretty decently out to my fence, no problem, and even to the end of the neighbor's fence. And this is pretty impressive for 31 lumens. Bumping up, this would be medium, 270 lumens. It's a little bit of a greenish tint. This is the cool white model. You can see it throws out across the street into the school over there. Again, fairly impressive for 270 lumens. Here is high. This is 1,417 lumens. This is really more than you need. Plenty for this type of range. Does a nice job of illuminating the area. You can see the spill though is quite a bit more lumens as on the side there. And here is full turbo, 2,836 lumens. I want to do some comparison with the previous model Thrunite Catapult V6. This has got the Cree XHP35 LED. I've got it here in high, which is 950 lumens. You can see it's a tighter defined hotspot and there's not quite as much spill here. Here is the new Catapult V6 with that SST70 LED. This is 1417 lumens on high. You can see the hotspot is larger and there is more spill here. And let's compare turbo here. Here is turbo, full 1700 lumens. It's not as big as drop. It's not as big on the old model here, the bump up, but it is a more focused beam. And here is turbo, 2,836 lumens. It's considerably brighter, considerably larger hotspot, and a bigger spill. Heat and runtime. Turbo on this light appears to have a timed step down at the 3-minute mark, where it steps down to 50% relative output for the next 30 minutes before stepping down to about 45% for most of the remaining hour, 28 minutes before rounding off and shutting off when low voltage protection kicked in at 3.034 volts. Max heat I saw during this time was 26 minutes at 50.5 C. When I compared this to the previous model Catapult with the Cree XHP35, I can say that the SST70, while making more light, is a bit less efficient. They both have the same timed step down at 3 minutes, but the previous model is able to sustain a little bit higher for longer during the duration of the runtime, but remember that it's producing less light doing so. The result is about a 30 minutes more runtime with the previous model than the SST70 that I'm reviewing here today, but remember, it's also producing more light during this time. So it's brighter but shorter battery life. UI is simple to follow here. From a short press, it will turn on, and then you can long press and go up in the 3 different modes, low, medium, and high. Double press to go to turbo, and then double press again to go to strobe. To access Firefly, long press from off, and Firefly is 0.3 lumens, so nice and low. This light also has memory and will turn on in the last normal access mode except for Firefly, turbo, and strobe, and this is unchanged from the previous model. The 2021 Catapult here uses onboard recharging via USB-C that you can see down in there. It's nice to see, however, it requires the use of that A to C cable, and I didn't have any luck charging this light with a USB-C to C cable or via USB-C PD, so that's a little disappointing. It's a simple resistor change that I believe all flashlights should do because it really gives the user the best option of whatever cable they want to use. Total charge time from low voltage protection at 3.04 volts to fully charged at 4.158 volts took 3 hours, 4 minutes, and 9 seconds, and max charge rate I saw was just under 2 amps, and the curve does look a little bit atypical here with a sudden drop to the lower charging speed as the battery reaches a certain capacity. Usually that's a little bit more rounded off. So the pros for me are this is a bit more of a general purpose light with the increased spill and more lumens than the outgoing model that I felt was maybe a little bit better thrower. It's got good build quality from Thrunite and is a completely packaged light, meaning everything you need to get started is all here. It'd make a great gift. The cons are it's only available in cool white. It's a little bit longer and heavier than the previous model. The milling in the body isn't as deep or grippy, and it requires the use of that A to C charging cable and doesn't work with C to C or USB-C PD. So my conclusion is I'm not really ready to call the Catapult V6 SST70 an all-new light. It's largely the same light as the original V6, but with a different LED and other small tweaks to better optimize the design for the new LED, as well as update the light to USB-C charging while they're at it. As I mentioned before, the LED that was being used here before was discontinued and the SST70 was chosen in its place. I do commend Thrunite for doing a good job of optimizing the design with a slightly different reflector, slightly longer head to adapt to the LED that is traditionally isn't used in a thrower. The result is pretty close to that old V6 design in terms of throwing performance, and in the real world it's hard to tell the difference if you don't have them side by side. The new light does have a bit more spill and is slightly less throwy, and mode spacing is good but could be a little bit better, I feel like, although I've seen worse. The Catapult V6 has been a permanent member of my collection and gets used a decent amount because I like the size and feel in my hand, as well as the performance despite being cool white. The revised model I reviewed here retains most of those despite growing in length slightly and having a less aggressive milling on the body. The increase in lumens isn't drastic, but the increase in spill is kind of nice when you're using this for general purpose tasks, which is what I find myself using it for. If you don't have a Catapult V6 in your collection, I can recommend either model. They are both quite good. Don't forget, Thrunite has offered an additional 10% discount for about a week after this video is published, and you can find that in the description below, as well as links to all my social media profiles. As always, I appreciate you guys watching these videos. If you've got any questions, please let me know below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And as always, I'll see you on the next review soon.